welcome to the Power Half Hour. Today we have our very, very special, our very own Jennifer Jones from King City, Ontario. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always such a pleasure spending time with you, John. And I
Likewise.
tell you over and over how amazing you are. I think
Aw.
you're one of those rare people where everyone is always welcome. You always want everyone to feel warm and fuzzy, and it's truly a special trait. You're very much focused on everyone else, and I think that's why you have such a high level of success that you have, not only with your team but your organization. So thank you. It's an honor.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. It gave me goosebumps. I do try, so thank you for recognizing that, Jen. Jen, so number two team in Ontario, and also number two team for many years at EXP as well. But because it seemed untouchable from the very beginning before I knew you. And so now we gotten to know each other. You're like the sweetest person I've ever met, I swear. And, I could talk about you all day, but I want to have you talk a little bit about you. Where did you come from and how did you get started in all this?
So it's, yeah, fascinating, right? Well, back in my 20s, my husband at the time, he and I were actually flipping properties in Sarasota, Florida. So we were actually buying properties, renovating and flipping, holding some, and went through a divorce, got into horse racing because it's so related, like absolutely related. I was like, well, if I'm not doing this, I should just be in horse racing, right, John?
Yeah.
So I actually, as I do with everything, when I decide I'm going into something and I'm going to do something, I'm all in. I'm like
Mm.
100% focused and in. So I became a trainer. I actually went down to Kentucky, bought yearlings, hired a trainer up here. We trained together and then raced them all over through North America. So I was in training and racing in the harness industry for 7 years. And
Wow.
then we had the Ontario government, the Ontario Lottery Gaming Corporation, come down and restrict the slot machines that were paying out. So it affected the purses, the purse
Mm.
structure, the value of horses, et cetera, et cetera. So I got out of horse racing
Mm.
because at the time it seemed the smart thing to do. And just after that, I ended up meeting Keith, who's my husband now.
Mm.
We've been together 14 years. And
Wow.
at the time, he'd come out of a divorce. He'd been about a year out. I was already 5 years single by that point. So we ended up getting together, and he was a fire captain, but his second full-time job, as they all have a second full-time job,
Yeah.
it was working for a very high-end contractor in Aurora, which was right by us. So he'd been doing
Mm.
that for like 25 years, right?
Oh boy.
So we ended up buying a power sale property and redid it. And then as it was up for sale and being sold, we were having challenges moving it. And I was coming up with all these creative ways to sell it, right? Like doing
Mm.
videos showing the short boat ride from the bay out to the lake, putting that, into the house, all the prep that you do, overcoming all the objections that you're hearing. And at that point, we both looked at each other and I said, what am I doing? I should just go get licensed. Like, this is stupid. If
Mm.
we're going to flip properties, let's retain that commission.
Mm.
So went ahead and got licensed. And what was interesting was I do believe that some things are meant to be, that you're purposed in things. And I just had all of these people starting to come to me and asking for me to also list their property.
Ah.
But my major focus was in serving other people and figuring out how to help them net more money, right?
Mm.
So by helping other people win, then you have a lot of repeat referral business. But I think one of the
Mm.
interesting things, like people always say, like, how did you get started, right? As a new realtor, we moved to an area we knew no one. So newly licensed area, I don't know anyone. And there was about three super dominant agents in that pocket. So this
Mm.
is a lakefront area, a lot of high end along the lake, and then sort of average stuff in the rest of the town. So it was funny. The three dominant agents, to overcome this, right? Because when you have agents that are entrenched in a community for so long, it can be, if you perceive that you're competing against them, right? Then it would be challenging. But I just looked at it and said, okay, I just have to visualize this and literally create this happening for myself. So I would drive the lakefront every day. I would drive along the lakefront, sip my Tim Hortons coffee, half hour one way, half hour the other way, and I would visualize and say and declare, I'm so grateful all these buyers and sellers are mine, right?
Oh, wow.
The next year you drove the lake, almost all of those listings were mine. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's that power of, being very careful with your mind and your words. What are you speaking and what are you thinking? Because you're literally creating your experience in the world, right?
Wow.
So that was kind of my major focus. But, there's other things that we did. I put, for lists with signs on the lawn that look like for sale signs. People don't read, as you know. They just drive by and go, oh, it's for sale. And then I would hold, little parties in the community, invite everybody over. I would get to know them and then say to them, hey, if someone came along and wanted to buy your property, what's the number it would take to actually move you? So I ended up with like this whole group of neighbors with incredible properties that I had access to. And some were serious about selling. So when people would call the sign and say, hey, that property that's for sale, which by the way was mine and it was for list, I would just say, oh, I'm so sorry, that one's not available, but I do have these two other off-market properties I could show you. And then I would show them the ones that were on the market too. But then again, that showing up prepared, right? I would have a folder. I had all the information about them. I came with like gift cards or coffee. It was always, give before you receive and treat people with that 7-star service. So yeah, in a long story, in a nutshell, it was simply, yeah, just what I was believing and what I was saying to myself about where I was going to be, right?
You created the whole thing by your thoughts and your words and your thoughts. And word creates world. So be very careful with your words and your thoughts. Did you learn that, or did you develop that as you went through your course of business in many, many years of flipping property, then horse racing? Where did you learn that?
I think that's more like an intuitive kind of knowledge, and
Wow.
then personal development, like working a lot on personal development. I do, and I know this is really big for you as well. But I do believe, we are getting exactly what in terms of our finances, we're getting exactly what we are attracting. Like where we are resonating is literally the amount of money we're making. So even now, I look at my situation. I was saying that to Glenn Sanford last year backstage. He was asking me about my commitments for 2024. And I was saying to him, yeah, like this is what I see. And he's saying to me, well, is that big enough? Right? Does that scare you? Okay, what's that number? And now add a 0 to that. That's what you need. That's what you need. And now you need to reverse engineer that.
Wow.
And as he says, like the plan that you have to come up with to achieve that is not where you could continue doing the same thing you've been doing to get it. You literally have to allow your creative side to take over and come up with, some crazy ideas about how you're going to accomplish those numbers, right? So
Wow.
it's yeah, I think you learn as you go, but when you fully understand that your personal development is directly related to the amount of money that you're earning and what is in your bank account, then you do the work. And it's the same thing I know for you as well, like that fitness, that commitment to health, to exercise. Those directly correlate as well. Like the fitter you get, the better you eat, the more careful you are with allowing those thoughts. You know, it's interesting. I don't know if you've had this experience, but you know, when you think something, like you think, oh, you suck, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or like they don't like you. Like you think something like that.
Yeah.
And I've had that epiphany of realizing over time that that voice that's speaking, that's not me, right?
Mm.
So it's like, huh, as a spiritual being in my soul, I wouldn't say that to myself. So
No.
who is that? And where is that coming from? So I think you start to move to a place more as an observer of your thoughts, and then
Mm.
knowing that your brain, this voice is lying to you, and it's just a software program repeating on your brain, which is the hardware, right? So I think I've had a lot of deep reflection, a lot of work on myself to get to this place, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be, right?
Mm. I
So
love
it's
that.
it's that constant journey into self and figuring out how do I remove more limitations? Where are the blind spots that I have that I don't see, right?
Yeah,
So
it's do you believe that you'll be at the perfect place where you want to be in terms of your thoughts and your results, and that small voice will never come up?
yeah, I think by the time I am old, that I'll have that mastered. Yeah,
You're not
right?
old. Okay, so it's a long time from now, but it's a
Well,
journey, right?
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking like when I'm 90, right? I visualize like I'm gonna pass somewhere in my mid 90s, and I visualize by my 90s of really having that under control. Like, do you feel like sometimes you have some control over it? Like for yourself, do you feel
Wow.
like,
I don't think so. I think I'm all over the place. But then I have all these reminders around me, like my vision board, like the goals that I write down on a daily basis. Then it reminds me because I'm my mind. If I let it get out of control, it's always out of control. That's why I do these things so to remind myself. So do I have full control over my mind? I don't, but I have control over my actions. Then when I put it down somewhere, then it reminds me later, right? So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's how I do it.
yeah,
So then it really affects me through years and years of this these actions that I take that I'm not gonna say I control it, but I'm less influenced by it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that, I think that's the exactly what you said. And I like the way that you explained how you're kind of managing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I do think it's more like managing it. It's like you manage, it's, you know, like the monkey brain, the negative brain,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it. Yeah, because you get distracted and it kind of starts going all over the place. I think that is the key to success, though. That is the key to getting anything that you want is just becoming like singularly focused on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not letting, like, I always think emotions are temporary. Okay, so I feel down at the moment,
Yeah.
but, you know, do I retreat to Netflix and eating bonbons lying in front of the TV,
Yeah.
right? You know, like, maybe once in a while, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I can, like, manage. And that's the thing, like, I'm sure for you too, that exercise that you're doing, that diet is also what kind of helps keep you in that place of
Mm-hmm.
managing that the part of your brain that wants to go do that sometimes, right? Like do you have days you wake up and you think, "Oh gosh, I don't want to do this today."
Tons. I mean, majority of the time, really. But I think it's years and years of exercising discipline and knowing that what I don't want to do is exactly what I need to do to get to where I want to go. And through years of doing the hard stuff, now it becomes easy. But so, coming back to if we're talking about an agent, and especially in this market, their monkey brain's going wild. And mindset's everything, right?
No
So,
kidding.
what do you think agents who are, 2, 3 years in are like, okay, I got in the pandemic, it was easy. And now it's like, oh my God, there's so much fear. What would you tell them right now?
So we have three agents. Well, there's four of them actually out of our team of 55 that last year increased their GCI like year over year. So in a down market, they
Yeah.
made over 300,000 gross commission income. That's what
Woo.
they took home. So four of them, right? And they increased. And so what I would say is those you want to figure out who are the people around you and
Mm,
go get aligned with people that want to win. That people
mm,
that are working on and aware of their mindset and understand that that's a super important piece to the puzzle in terms of being successful. And you have to, if you don't have that success level, go find someone like John, right? Like you, who actually is successful, and then
mm.
they need to model your behavior. They need to basically copy you in a version of themselves
Mm-hmm.
and stop making excuses, right? The
Yeah.
truth is that you and I could both sit here and say, yeah, the market's been tougher for the past 2 years, and
Yeah.
we could have, gone home and cried and like just given up, right?
Yeah.
Just given up. But we didn't, right? So what did my inside sales woman Courtney do, right? Who made over 300 last year? She just goes, okay, well, 2 years ago it was 258 dials to get an appointment. Now
Mm.
it's 478 dials to get an appointment. So she just
Okay.
she just doubled down, right? And that was the message to the team was, yes, there are less people transacting. That is a fact, right? Let's look at the
Mm-hmm.
facts. And if you want to win in this market, it means you need to double down the activity. So if you did
Wow.
2 hours of door knocking, now do four. You did 2 hours of dialing, now do four, right? Like just
And
double down. And the bigger part of it becomes if you believe that you're going to succeed, I always say whether the market goes up or down, we outperform the market, right?
mm,
And we have. If you look at how much we've decreased comparatively to other teams or groups or individuals, it would be less because
yeah.
the psychology with that therefore affects the energy that we bring to a client. When they
Mm.
say, you know, is it a good time to sell? Well, that depends. Like, walk me through what it is we're selling. If we're selling a
Mm.
luxury property, no, this is not the best time to sell. If you're
Right.
doing an upsize, this could be a great time to sell. If you're buying and
Mm.
selling in the same market, it can also be great. If you're moving areas, it depends on where you're selling and where you're going. So I think when agents approach this from, there are always people transacting. I know there's different ways of saying this, but ultimately, this kids being born, families are
Yep.
upsizing, you have families that are downsizing because people are retiring, there's people passing away, there's people going through divorces. So ultimately, there's always going to be business. And the truth is, we know that about the 80-20 rule, which is
Yeah.
probably more like the 90-10 rule, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. I
not sure
agree.
I believe in 80-20 anymore. So let's say it's 90-10. So the truth is you want to be at the top. The cream always rises to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and find someone or a team, right, who can sort of lead you into the path of doing the work, accountability, systems, processes, and the knowledge and support and training to get you where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what would be your advice, John, if we had agents right now, new agents that are struggling?
I think same thing with you. I beat a dead horse. I feel like on a daily basis because I'm always going to play the numbers game, and that if you just do the work and you track your numbers, at some point in time, the law of numbers will take over, and the law of ratios. You start to realize that the more you do it, the better you get at your ratios, and the
100%.
more predictable and duplicatable your business is. what I've seen, Jennifer, is that people give up way too easily before they can see it through. So
100%.
why do people give up, even with leadership around? Sometimes they give up. Why do you think that is?
I just think there's a couple different reasons. One, I don't believe everyone is purposed to be in sales, right? They
Fair.
actually have
Yeah.
something else in their heart that is really there and they're kind of ignoring it. I do think that, again, they struggle with themselves. So they haven't done the personal growth work to get to a place where they're willing to take responsibility,
Yeah.
and look themselves in the mirror and say, it's not you, John. You're not giving me leads, You're not teaching me, you're not coaching me, you're not training me, you're not spending enough time, I'm not getting enough hand holding, but it's me because you've given me everything I need. I know what I need to do. You've even got groups where I can live dial, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So do we.
Yeah.
But they don't take that responsibility and say, it's actually me. And I'm disappointed in myself. And I really need to do some work here and get an accountability partner and kick my own butt.
Yeah.
Right. So, what is that one action that I'm going to commit to take every day? Just one.
Just
I'm going
one.
to do one habit, which takes approximately 66 days. We used to do this
Right.
in foster care with our kids, right? You have one thing you want to work on. That's great. We know it takes 66 days. Let's get out a calendar. Let's have a colored marker initial that day when you have that win. But essentially, okay, I'm going to do 1 hour of lead gen. If that's my challenge and I can't even do anything at all, I'm going to do one. And maybe for the first 66 days, maybe I'm doing it with someone, right? Who's my accountability partner for showing up. Maybe I'm door knocking for 66 days. Maybe I'm showing up at your live dial or my live dial, right? But I think that as soon as they start to put a habit in place and actually do the activity, they'll start to develop the self-esteem. But self-esteem isn't there to start with.
Ah,
You have to actually get out and start to hold. It's almost like holding integrity with yourself first.
yes.
They've broken so many promises to
Oh
themselves.
boy. Speaking my language here.
Okay?
Love it.
Like
Yeah.
if you can't hold a promise to yourself, you have no integrity with yourself and you feel like crap, right? So the
Yes.
starting place is starting to hold, and when you say something to yourself like, I'm not gonna smoke today, right? Okay, so can I do that myself? I'm not a smoker, but let's say I was a smoker. Can I do it myself? Maybe not. Maybe I need to go to the doctor and go get medication to start that. But then having an accountability with myself and saying, I've gone an hour, check. I've gone 2 hours, I've gone 3 hours. The minute I fall off the wagon, I can't just go and beat myself up and say, well, I'm done. Back
I'm
to
done. Yeah.
smoking I go, right? It has to be that integrity. So I feel like once someone has won and mastered themselves, even in one thing where they can discipline themselves and get it done, that actually can be transferred. That skill can now be transferred over to other things, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we find the best agents on our team have gone through a university or a college program. So why is that, right? Why are we seeing that high level of success with team agents who've done that? It's not about going to university. It's not about going to a college program. It's that they learn to show up for themselves, and whether they felt sick or whether they felt depressed or sad or whatever it is, they still went to class, they still handed in their homework, and they got their degree. They showed up for themselves, right? So they're already starting from a place of having that commitment. What I find, you have a lot of people attracted into the industry that just say, well, this is going to be easy. I'm going to get
Yeah.
in, I'm going to do the Lambo, I'm going to do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And you absolutely can. Anyone can learn to do this really well if you treat it like like a serious career if you
Yeah.
master it. If you do the scripts and role plays with you, right? If they live dial, if they actually look to educate themselves on rent to own, on like asbestos and mold and water tests and waterfront and what are luxury items in a luxury home, a sub-zero fridge, a wolf range. Like, I think not enough people really take the business super seriously
Hmm.
and work to
Hmm.
elevate their skill and have real passion about this business, because it is life changing, and the
Hmm.
people we get to meet. I mean, not only through EXP and all these incredible like you and all these incredible people that we now know all over the world, right? I
Hmm.
mean, look at even the relationships that you've had an opportunity to build.
Wow. It's been amazing. It's crazy.
And
Yeah.
from there, even it's the, with the clients, with agents and their clients, like we've had the opportunity to sell for some just like unbelievable people and people that have achieved incredible things. And then the agents, there's this additional layer of amazing people that have been attracted to this industry. I think
Hmm.
just you have to get serious with yourself and say, am I going to continue to let myself get away with these and make excuses for why I'm doing this and blame everybody else for where I'm at right now? Or am I going to take my life seriously, and am I going to take full responsibility for absolutely everything that happens in my world, financially, emotionally with other people, your
Mm.
relationships, your health, your fitness, your mental health, all of these things? Am I going to take full responsibility? And when someone starts to do that, even on that small commitment level, that's where I always see them starting to take off. Like, and 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 you and I have talked about this, but I do believe, with team members coming on within teams and groups, I am not that team leader that goes, okay, well, you didn't do the work, or you're not there yet, or you're struggling with stuff, so I don't do that,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
For me, I believe that life is a journey and it is about personal growth and development. And we do have agents on the team. It has taken them, 2, 3, 4 years to get up to a place where they really produce at a high level and are happy with where they are. But it's because
Mm.
they went through other things, like they were immature, they had to learn how to take personal responsibility. They'd been allowed to get away with things in maybe even their parental relationships growing up and their friendships.
Mm.
So I feel like there's so much hope, and anyone that wants to achieve something in this business absolutely can. They just have to stop allowing themselves to get away with everything that
Hmm.
isn't serving them.
Yeah, I really think so. And what I heard from that was basically integrity. Integrity is everything. If you don't have integrity, you have nothing. And self-belief is really making a promise and fulfilling that promise. Therefore, you believe yourself, right? And people don't do that. They just make a promise and then they go, you know what, maybe tomorrow. I won't do it. And next thing you know, they're asking the question, how do I build self belief when they haven't taken responsibility of making and fulfilling their own promises? So, what I also heard was it probably takes about 4 years to get it up to a point where you think you got this a little bit handled. When it's never handled, but people quit within 2 years. So 90% quit within 2 years. So if they just get over that hump of the second year, don't quit, you're gonna get it, right? So
A
wow,
hundred percent,
that's huge.
hundred
Were
percent.
you Jen? Were you always team leader from the start, or did you start solo?
No, so I started solo, and then third year of real estate, I did 1.1 million gross commission on my own. So we had an average
What?
price point of like 550, I think, back then. So when I got to that point, I could no longer provide that
Right.
really high level of service for clients, and I started slipping. So I ended up bringing on and starting
Mm.
team. But it was interesting. First year team, I absolutely failed. So we made a lot of money.
Hmm.
and I lost $150,000, right? Not tracking P&L, not paying attention, being too generous with splits, paying for too much.
Uh,
So yeah, it's a learning, right? So I looked at it
yeah.
and said, okay, well, this is broken, and
Yeah.
clearly I suck at this, right? So, but that's it. It's like the
Well, thank you
intent,
for being
the
so
ability,
honest. Nobody would really actually
right?
say that. Like you lost 150,000.
Yeah, totally. And then
That wow.
and this is the thing. So how do you learn? You
Mm.
learn in life through failure, right? You learn in life by, making, some people will say they're not mistakes. They're mistakes. Okay, they're mistakes. You
Yeah,
make a
it's
mistake.
okay.
But as long as you learn something from it and grow, and that's what I did. I looked at it and went, well, clearly I don't know what I'm doing. So I went and looked at the Loken Group, who is the biggest team that was in the US at that time. They'd done
Mm.
2,400 deals that year. This is going back 7 years ago.
Holy
And
cow.
he had gone through a bankruptcy, okay, because he totally like blew team. He blew it. So he had to entirely reset, start team again from the beginning.
Holy.
And so we looked at his model. He was generous enough to open his doors to lots of different agents.
Yeah.
And I flew down Sarah Park, who was my licensed office manager. She went down, looked at all of his systems and processes
Oh
and the
my
way they did
goodness.
everything, brought it all back up, and we implemented it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you don't, and this is why I say you're a new agent, you're struggling. This is really easy. All you have to do is go find someone to mentor you who is winning, and you know what? Just copy what they're doing. And that's what I
Yeah.
did. I copied team, and that's how you make it work.
Wow. Okay. So you got some help. And so did he was he a coach or he was just open
No.
and honest with you about his systems? Just
Yeah.
here you
So
go.
they basically just opened up their systems to us. We brought back Trello board. There was some other
Mm.
things that we brought back and implemented right away. And then from there, it becomes, okay, I would say things to myself like, all right, and I would say to our management team, because we started to put in place like a listing specialist, right, who
Hmm.
looks for liabilities even within what we list,
Hmm.
a deal processor, a marketing person, a customer care. We started to put these people in. And I would say to them, okay, imagine that the business doubles this year. What's going to break?
Mm.
What is going to break? And then what do we need to already work on to make sure that that doesn't happen? Right? And the
I'm
other
writing
thing,
that down
yeah. And then we
somewhere.
would,
So good.
something goes, but you have something go wrong. And so it was never like, oh my gosh, you did that, that happened, holy, right? It was like, okay, walk me through what happened. All right. So what do you think that we could do? Like, how are you handling it? Right. Let's figure out how you're handling it. What do you think you should do? And then
Hmm.
we would work on solutions, and then it would become, okay, so this is what's happened. What can we put into place? What process or system can we put into place to make sure that this never happens again? Right? So
Mm. I love
fix,
that.
prevent. Yeah. And so,
Fix, prevent. And if we were to double our business today, what's going to break? Identify that and
yeah.
start to create in advance, right? What we
Yes.
need.
Yeah, because
Holy cow.
it becomes an issue like as you're a producer and you get more and more busy, you don't have the time once you get to that place that you're, at that super high level and really being stretched in every direction to attend to that. So it's
Hmm.
just looking at it saying, when I double the business, because that's what you should be doing, is
Yeah.
doubling your business.
Yeah.
When I double it, who are the players that I need in what roles, and what is
Mm.
potentially going to break, and how do I make sure that I have something in place, a workflow, or a part-time person to already start managing that in preparation for where we're going. But I think,
Wow.
yeah, it's too much of this business is like chasing your tail and on damage control. It's like you're
Always, I feel
constantly
like.
reacting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to be like way ahead of the game. Play chess, not checkers, as they say. You need to be
Yeah.
like 5 moves ahead of yourself to prevent these things. So fix, prevent, prevent. You rather not fix. You rather prevent way in advance. This is a high level team leader conversation. But on a bigger picture, like what advice would you have for aspiring or team leaders existing right now? What should they be doing in 2024 and beyond? What's the one thing you think they should do?
Well, I think it depends on who, right? And like where their level of production is and where it is that they want to go. Or for a team, like where where are you looking to go? Are you just looking to increase transaction volume, or are you also looking to increase, the number of team members, right?
Yeah.
And we always say recruiting solves all issues, right? Meaning you by bringing on new people, you'll constantly find new amazing talent, and you'll
Mm,
always have a percentage of people that are happy, just doing 4 to 6 deals a year. That makes them happy. They like being a part of a team environment. So I think it's figuring out where are you now and where do you want to be. I think that based on the economy, like hopefully we're going to get this interest rate decrease, but even a quarter point, okay, it's
it's more psychological, I think. A quarter
psychological.
point.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
what I was saying. It is psychological. We've had that capital gains come in, and I think that slowed the market again. Thank you,
Mm,
government.
thank you, government.
So I think what it is exactly what we need to do, which is just get back to the basics on doubling down.
Mm,
If you want the production there, you want the success for this year, you need to double down. For
I
people
love it.
wanting to grow teams, the first question I would ask is why?
Mm,
Why do you want a team? So I actually believe that you would probably be more profitable, like based on the conversations and the rooms that we've been in. We've been
yeah.
blessed to be in some rooms of some serious high producers for years. I believe the more profitable place is actually when you're smaller. Like you're maybe,
Mm,
a lead agent with a couple of agents who are really strong and a couple of really strong administrators, right? Like your core management group. I feel like that is a more profitable group than running into really large numbers.
mm,
There was someone even, we heard different ranges even, where some people are saying our net profit is 9%, okay,
mm-hmm.
versus let's say 20. Well, if it's 9%, okay, why are we doing this anymore? Like what would be the point of that, right? But I think it is. It's like you have to look at it and say, why am I doing it? So for me, and I'll ask you the same question, for me, it really wasn't a purposeful action at the beginning of starting a team. It was kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
I need it, right?
Mm,
And then you
mm-hmm.
get
Yep.
more and more people that keep coming, and then you put in more and more systems, and then you add more and more lead gen in, which requires more agents, right? And so it becomes this kind of machine. But I think you have to ask yourself, why do I want a team like that? And what do I think it's going to do for me? Because for me, I love seeing agents grow. I love seeing agents. I
Mm,
love the personal development side. I love seeing them win when they haven't had a lot of success and all of a sudden it starts to click and they start doing deal after deal and they're getting momentum and you're watching them grow. I love that. So that for
mm,
me is worth the fact that I'm making way less money than I would if I actually stayed small
yeah.
producer. So for
Yeah.
yourself, John, what would you say? Why are you doing this?
Well, I built the team out of necessity, just like yourself. I was doing 149 transactions and I was like, I'm dying. I can no longer keep this up physically. So I had to start scaling. And by default, I had a few agents and it was a revolving door until I had systems in place. And then I stepped back more from my own production to start supporting the team, and the team grew that way. And through this journey, just like yourself, and I'm trying to get where you are at, right? And main thing right now, I'm focused on profitability. No matter how you look at it, it's like, why would we want to be in business if we're not profitable? Is the point, right? So if I had advice to all the team leaders right now, just stay profitable wherever you're at. Whatever team size you're at, please just stay profitable. That's all I got to say about that. But like, how do we get there is the key. It's like, okay, if I'm in production and I have a bunch of agents, like what profit margin do I have? And if I'm out of production, what profit margin do I have? And at the end of the day, if it's not profitable, don't do it. Why are we doing it? And if it's not fun, why are you doing it? So,
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I love there was a moment at the previous brokerage I was in the top 200, so it was Keller, and I remember Gary standing up at the front in the top 200 group and saying, "We have a lot of big cowboy hats in the room, and they don't have a lot of cattle." Right? He's like, "What's your net? What's your net, folks? It's not about your gross. It's
yeah.
not about your numbers of agents. It's not about all this. What's your net?"
Oh
Right?
boy.
And it's true. Like it is. It's true. So you have to be. It's the balance of loving people and wanting to serve, which is so great. I mean, really, if you think about it, how many people, John, have gotten started in the business or brought along as agents who their lives are really changed and impacted, not to mention the clients, right, by that high level of service that you're training in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love changing agents' lives and I love improving our clients' lives. I mean, that's why I'm still in business today. But at the end of the day, we're running a business, not a charity. So it's not a
Yeah.
nonprofit.
It is funny. So it's so true, but I also look at it and say that, like, I'll actually say to myself, this is a ministry. Like, it's essentially like I feel like there's spiritual growth, there's opportunities to teach people. It could be agents or even clients on how to manage a stressful situation, right? Where you're reframing it for them. You get an agent that says, "Oh, the other agent is this or that," or, they're terrible. And then they want to take that energy and what the other agent has said back to the clients, right? So it's like teaching the agent, okay, so maybe the agent's had a bad day. Maybe there's something going on at home you're not aware of, right? So let's just give them the grace, and the benefit of the doubt that they're having a bad day. Let's not bring that energy back to the client, right? So you
Ah,
help them kind of reframe through things, even, not becoming emotionally into the emotional roller coaster ride with the client when things are going on,
mm,
and reframing their perspective.
yep.
Like, oh, the buyers are this or this, the agent is that. Okay, well, like, is that true? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Mm-hmm.
start with, is it true? And then looking at, even you get a lowball offer. Oh, they're just insulting us, right?
Yeah.
Well,
You
if
make up these
we were doing
stories.
an offer, we do a lot of the shoe on the other foot. If we were going out and buying, don't you think we would want to be kind of testing the same thing to see if we
Yeah.
could get a better deal in the house? The
Right.
fact is you had 20 showings, and this is the one group that actually came forward because they love your house the way that you do. So let's start
Mm.
there. So the truth is that, of course, they're going to want to negotiate. This is the
Yeah.
price they would love to pay for the property. And the reality is that we want to do a sign back, any kind of sign back, even $1,000 that just gets it going. And let's see how much they're going to jump up, right? Then we'll know if
Wow.
they want the house. But that's
I
part
wanna
of
I wanna
like,
hire you right now, Jennifer. That was so good. It just feels it's so calming and you don't make the seller wrong. You don't make the buyer's agent or the buyer wrong. Everybody
no,
wins. I
right.
love that.
And
Yeah.
that's what it is though, right? The truth is, if you look at people, I believe we're all just spiritual beings having a human experience. And if you
Mm.
how do we want how would we want someone else to treat us in that moment? And do we want the grace when we're having a bad day? So it's like, let's just put that energy out there, and then
Wow.
that will come back and be reflected to us when we're in that spot, right?
I absolutely love you, Jen. Like my energy level is just up 10 notches by chatting with you. Jen, thank you so much. It is the power half hour, but it's seemingly more like a power 45 minutes right now because I enjoy talking to you so much, Jen. I wish we could talk forever. If we want to get more of your content, where do we find you?
So right now I'm banned on Instagram. Apparently, we're blocked. You can see my join underscore Jennifer underscore Jones Instagram account.
But not
We
your own?
the team one we should get back in about a week. Yeah, we don't know
Oh my
what we
gosh.
did. Yeah, Instagram's fun. So it's all fine. Or email me at Jenn at jj.team. I'm always happy to help. We share a lot of information or buyer questionnaires or seller questionnaires, whatever you like.
Thank you. Guys, if you want more of JJ here, an absolute phenomenal human being, follow her or email her, jen at jjteam.ca or .com.
So it's Jenn, Jenn, at
Yeah,
jj.team, Team.
jj
So it's
dot
like,
team.
yeah, it's a Gmail account. It's all
Oh, it's
good.
a Gmail account. Got it. Okay. Follow her, guys, and we'll have more of her July 8th and 9th. She'll be speaking in Bill, Vancouver. I cannot wait to see you again, Jen. Thank you so much for today.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much, John. I can't wait to see you.
Thank you.